Throughout history, nations have risen to incredible heights, commanding armies, ruling continents, and shaping the destiny of humanity. Once, they ruled the world. Empires of gold, steel, and power. Nations that conquered continents, commanded oceans, and shaped human destiny. But no kingdom lasts forever. Time erases thrones, pride fades to dust, and even the greatest powers fall to silence. In this video, we'll explore 8 powerful countries that once dominated the world, yet have since fallen from greatness. From mighty empires to humble nations, here's how history's strongest powers lost their thrones. Starting our video with Spain, from global empire to modest power. Spain's story is one of extraordinary rise and a long, complicated decline. In the 15th and 16th centuries, following Columbus's voyage and the unification of Castile and Aragon, Spain emerged as the center of a global empire, characterized by the influx of silver from the Americas, extensive oceanic trade routes, and powerful monarchs who exerted significant influence on European politics. But the empire brought heavy costs. Constant wars to defend far-flung territories, enormous borrowing, and an economy that became dependent on New World wealth rather than domestic innovation. Over centuries, military defeats, imperial overstretch, and internal fractures hollowed out Spain's power. The 19th and 20th centuries saw the loss of colonies, civil war, and authoritarian rule that further stalled recovery. Today, Spain is a modern European democracy with important cultural and economic influence, but no longer a global hegemon. Its Golden Age legacy remains visible. Language, architecture, religion, yet the era of global dominion has given way to a nation focused on tourism, services, and integration within the European Union. The Ottoman Empire, the fall of a giant. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire was one of the most powerful states on Earth, a bridge between Europe, Asia, and Africa, ruling diverse peoples from the Balkans to the Middle East. Its armies and administration sustained centuries of expansion and cultural achievement. But power erodes in many ways. Administrative stagnation, decentralization, and the difficulty of modernizing a sprawling, multi-ethnic empire created internal strain. As European powers industrialized and formed nation-states, the Ottomans struggled to compete militarily and economically. The 19th century saw wars, territorial losses, and rising nationalist movements inside Ottoman lands. External meddling by great powers accelerated the decline. World War I proved decisive. Alliances, defeat, and partition plans dismantled the empire. Out of its ruins rose new nation-states, and Turkey under Ataturk emerged with a radically different, secular, national identity. The Ottoman civilization's architectural and cultural legacy endures, but the imperial system itself vanished, replaced by modern borders and competing national narratives across the region. Greece, the cradle of civilization in decline. Greece's ancient legacy is the foundation of Western civilization, philosophy, democracy, drama, and monumental architecture. City-states like Athens and Sparta once shaped politics, thought, and warfare in ways that still resonate today. Yet that brilliance did not translate into continuous geopolitical dominance. After classical Greece came centuries of Macedonian, Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman rule. By the time the modern Greek state re-emerged in the 19th century, the balance of power in Europe had shifted to industrialized empires. Economic challenges, limited resources, and geopolitical vulnerability meant Greece could not reclaim ancient grandeur as a global power. In the 20th and 21st centuries, Greece has faced wars, occupation, civil conflict, and severe economic crises. The 2008 debt crisis being a particularly painful chapter that highlighted structural weaknesses. Today, Greece is a culturally rich, democratic EU member with global soft power through history and tourism, but its role is regional rather than imperial. The cradle of democracy lives on as a beacon of heritage rather than a superpower. Egypt, from ancient power to modern struggle. Egypt was one of the world's earliest great states, with pharaohs, monumental architecture, and millennia of centralized power along the Nile. Its ancient civilization built pyramids, temples, and an administrative system that shaped regional dynamics for centuries. However, the arc of time shifted power away. Conquest by Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Ottomans, and Europeans transformed Egypt's political autonomy and influence. Colonialism, economic exploitation, and strategic competition in the modern era further constrained its sovereignty. The 20th century brought nationalist resurgence and periods of strong central leadership, but also political instability and economic difficulties. Today, Egypt retains immense cultural and historical weight and remains a key regional player in North Africa and the Arab world. Yet its capacity for global influence is limited by economic challenges, demographic pressures, and complex geopolitics. The grandeur of ancient Egypt remains a powerful symbol, but its modern state navigates regional realities rather than ruling an empire. Portugal, the forgotten Maritime Empire. Portugal punched far above its weight from the 15th to 17th centuries. Small in territory but bold in ambition, Portuguese sailors opened direct sea routes to Africa, India, and Brazil, building a maritime empire centered on trade and navigation. But the empire's strengths masked structural weaknesses: a small population base, limited financial resources, and dependence on trade routes often contested by bigger neighbors. Over time, rival colonial powers, costly wars, and the challenges of administering distant territories eroded Portugal's dominance. The loss of Brazil's unique economic dynamism and later independence movements chipped away at imperial wealth. In the modern era, Portugal became a mid-sized European nation focused on trade, tourism, and integration within the EU. Its language and cultural influence remained strong across former colonies, but the era of global maritime dominance ended centuries ago. Portugal's legacy is one of pioneering navigation and cultural reach, even as political power became modest in scale. Persia, known as Iran nowadays, from empire to isolation. Persian empires, from the Achaemenids through later dynasties, shaped a vast cross-continental civilization renowned for administration, art, and conquest. Persia's cultural imprint spanned languages, religion, and governance across the Middle East and Central Asia. Yet centuries of invasion, shifting trade routes, and internal fragmentation altered Persia's trajectory. The rise of European naval powers and new trade networks bypassed old land routes, reducing revenue streams. In the 20th century, foreign intervention, the oil revolution, and political upheavals culminating in the 1979 revolution changed Iran's international posture. Today, Iran remains a regional heavyweight with significant strategic influence, cultural depth, and resources. But decades of sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and internal political strains have constrained its global reach. Where ancient Persia once commanded vast empires, modern Iran exerts power mainly at a regional level, still significant, but operating within a very different international system. Mongolia, from conquerors to a quiet nation. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan became the largest contiguous land empire in history, remaking Eurasia through rapid conquest, trade integration, and administrative innovation. Mongol rule reshaped borders, commerce, and cultural exchange across continents. But that empire was difficult to sustain. Succession issues, the vastness of territory, and local uprisings split the realm into khanates. Over time, Mongol power fragmented, and the rise of centralized states in Russia, China, and elsewhere pushed Mongols back to the steppes. By the modern era, Mongolia became a landlocked nation squeezed between Russia and China. Today, Mongolia is a peaceful, resource-rich country with growing mining industries and a strong cultural identity rooted in nomadic tradition. Its global influence is limited by geography and population, but it exercises soft power through heritage and an important geopolitical position between giants. The era of empire building is a dramatic chapter of history. The modern state focuses on sovereignty and development. Italy, from Roman glory to economic challenges. Ancient Rome created one of history's most influential empires: law, infrastructure, language, and urban planning that shaped Europe and the Mediterranean for millennia. Rome's legacy is embedded in Western institutions, languages, and culture. Yet the fall of Rome ushered in centuries of fragmentation. The Italian peninsula became a patchwork of city-states, duchies, and foreign-dominated territories. During the Renaissance, Italy regained cultural prominence, but by the age of nation-states and industrialization, political unification came late and with economic unevenness. Italy industrialized regionally, but structural imbalances persisted. In the 20th century, fascism, world wars, and political turmoil complicated Italy's development. Today, Italy is a major modern economy with world-leading design, industry, and cultural exports, yet it faces structural economic challenges, slow growth, public debt, and regional disparities. The Roman Empire's imprint still shapes civilization, but contemporary Italy plays a role as a developed European nation rather than an imperial power. Empires rise, empires fall, but their legacies never fade. From the might of Rome to the explorers of Portugal, each of these nations has left a mark that shaped the world we live in today. History teaches us that power is never permanent, but influence can last forever. So, which fallen empire do you think left the greatest legacy? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more stories of history's greatest nations.